Hello everybody, it's Dr. Johnson. We're back here with Trusalus Injury Recovery and Performance Education Online, episode 10. Today we're going to be bringing you an amazing upper body strength training workout with Chris. But first, we're going to be picking up where we left off yesterday so that I can share with you the idea of how to best frame a rapid full recovery from traumatic acute injury. So, picking up what we were discussing yesterday, acute traumatic injury happens when your body endures a stress volume that exceeds your body's capacity for stress. Usually it comes along quickly, violently, abruptly. So in this case, I'd like to use the example of a sprained ankle. Most of us have unfortunately experienced this at some point in time or another. Now, when we have a force that exceeds the ankle's ability to stabilize, it rolls and we get a lot of tissue disruption in the area. We might get a cavitation of the joint, we might get extension of the ligaments, muscles, soft tissues, and in some cases you might have a little bit of a stress reaction to the bone. But immediately there's one thing we know we all have, which is an intense amount of pain and subsequent inflammation. So when that happens, we know we've got tissue breakdown going on and we immediately offload the area, leading into the protocol that most of you have heard about, which is RICE. Rest, ice, compression, and elevation. Immediately want to offload that joint in the healing process by decreasing the stress volume and allowing the body a chance to recover to eliminate further damage and trauma to the area. Now, what's the shortcoming of the RICE protocol is, well, what else do you do? Do you just literally offload the area and take some anti-inflammatories and let your body do its thing? And do you think that's going to be leading to a full recovery, or do you think that might be leading to problems on down the line? Well, if you think it's problems on down the line, you're correct. And the reason is it takes more than that to have a full recovery. When you have a stress volume that's been decreased, good start, but now we need to look at our key factors here if we're going to increase our capacity for stress and get full tissue healing. On a cellular level, looking at the ankle itself, we want to make sure that we've got great amounts of nutrition and hydration and the ability to recover and clear that inflammation out there and control that immune system response. If all you're doing is icing and taking some Advil, you're not doing that. Number two, we have to understand that when you're offloading your ankle, and depending upon the severity of it, where is the rest of that stress going in your body? Are you offloading your ankle and putting your weight into the other hip? Are you crutching and trying to still get around? And when you're changing your movement mechanics, what types of movement aberrations is that creating? Had you noticed that maybe you had an injury in your right ankle before and then all of a sudden your left hip starts to hurt and it gets tightened up and you didn't do anything to fix that? So movement efficiency is always a part of the equation. We want to make sure that you're thinking about not only getting motion as quickly as possible back into the injured area, which you do. Those of you who have worked with us long enough know that when you have an immediate injury, you get best results when you get immediate care. When we go in with the right amount of force and the right planes of action and start creating movement gently in the injured area, but also away from that injured area, we want to get the global movement occurring through the rest of the body, because if that shuts down, your recovery is not going to be good. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about your nutrition. If you have torn tissue in your body and have tissue disruption, how are you going to have a full recovery if you don't get the right amount of protein in your body? So you'll notice when you come in and we're putting you on an injury recovery plan, we always give you nutrition protocols, because without the right amount of nutrition, your body is going to be hamstrung in its ability to have a full recovery. And then that comes obviously with hydration and recovery with sleep recommendations. So in essence, no matter what your injury is, whether you're considering surgery or you're coming out of surgery, you've had a traumatic injury to the extremities of the spine, we want you to be thinking holistically, holistic injury recovery. What is everything you can do to have the fullest, fastest recovery? So I want you from this point forward to be thinking about more than just rest, ice, compression, and elevation. I want you to be thinking about the holistic idea around getting movement throughout your body, moving correctly with the right amount of nutrition, hydration, and sleep. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy your workout with Chris, And in episode 11, we're going to be coming back and we'll be talking about overuse injuries. Thank you for watching.
Hi, Chris here again. We are doing an upper body strength video, 20 minutes. I've got Eva and Sam with me today helping me out. So I want to warm you up. And again, this is 20 minutes. Most exercises are 30 or seconds or 1 minute. So we're going to start off with great big breaths. We're going to take a great big breath up, reach up, and exhale. Good, another breath up, and exhale, and last one. And now you're just going to have your feet pretty wide apart. You're just going to reach over, alternating right and left. And feel your obliques, a little bit of shoulder stretch. Good. And then you're going to twist towards your opposite side. A little torso twist across your shoulder. Let's do one more each way. Make sure your shoulder is down, and then you're just going to hold this nice static stretch. And you bring that same arm up and over, and you're going to grab your elbow. So stretching that tricep as you breathe. Good. And let's do the right arm. So you're going to go straight across. Good. Pulling at your shoulders, shoulders down now. And pulling at your elbow, shoulders down. And then up and over, you're going to grab that tricep. Just a little bit. Alright, and now you're just going to do a nice little hip hinge. So nice flat back. Come on up, squeeze your glutes. Let's do two more. Nice hip hinge, flat back. Squeeze your glutes at the top. And one more time. And you're just going to do shoulder rolls. So you're going to bring your shoulders up toward your ears, back around in your back pockets, and rotate again. Nice reverse circles. Good. And then rotate towards the front. So again, up towards your ears, and they're going to come in front of you. Good. Great big rolls. Good. And lastly, you're just going to do a nice neck roll. So bring your chin up to the ceiling, ear to your shoulder, chin down to your chest. Continue this way, and then reverse that direction a couple times this way, and we'll get ready for our upper body strength video. Alright, so we're going to start with inchworms, and we're going to add some upper body. So you're going to come to the edge of your mat, and you're going to walk out to an inchworm. So let's do this. We're going to do this for a minute. Get a nice plank, then walk your hands back towards your feet, and you're going to bring your right foot up as you stand up and bring your hands overhead. So work on a little balance. Come back down, inchworm back out. So you're going to alternate your knees up, get your plank, and then walk your hands back to your feet. Good. Bring your other leg up, knee up, hands go up, good. And go. This should be hard. So working on balance, a little bit of core, walk it back. Up. And again. If you can't come all the way out to a plank, you're going to come out as far as you can and up. I'm going to give Ava a progression. Try a single leg inchworm. So she's going to bring one foot up. She's going to walk out with that leg staying suspended. She's going to find her plank. Now here's where it's tough. She's going to walk it back, and without touching, if she can, she's going to drive that knee up, overhead, good. And other side. One more time. So you can bend your knees as Sam showed when you come out to your inchworm. Get your plank first, and then come up with your knee drive up to an overhead press. Nice. All right. So now we're going to do Superman push-ups. So you're going to come down on your stomach. Supermans are, you're gonna bring your feet and your hands up at the same time. You're gonna squeeze your glutes, and then you're gonna bring your hands right under your shoulders like Ava and Sam are showing into a push-up. Sam's gonna be on her knees, Ava's gonna try it from her toes. If you can do 2 or 3 from your toes and it gets too hard, drop to your knees, all right? So let's try this, 1 minute. So you're gonna do Supermans. So both arms and legs come up, squeeze your glutes and your back. Hands go right underneath your shoulders, and you're gonna come up to a push-up. So it's harder this way to come from a full laying down position. Back to Supermans. Yep. So you're just gonna alternate between Supermans and that full push-up and back. Yep. If you're feeling good, you can go through this quicker to get more push-ups in. And you're going at your pace. Good. Remember, this is strength, and a minute is a long time, so you're gonna, if it gets too hard, push-ups from your toes, you can drop to your knees. Good. And then back up to your Supermans, and then up as high as you can. Back to your push-up, knees or toes. Good. You're doing a great job. Push-up. We have one more. Superman. We're gonna get this second push-up in. There's so many ways you can do this. And push-up. All right, good. So we're gonna face the other direction on our knees, and we're gonna use a towel. And so this would work if you have hardwood floors. If you don't, you can use some sort of a plastic that will allow you to make a plastic plate to go out. So right hand's gonna go on the towel, you're gonna be kneeled, everyone will be kneeled, and you're gonna bend your left elbow, and your right arm's gonna go straight out. So we're gonna go 30 seconds this way and 30 seconds the other way. So here we go. So it's like straight out to the side go. Yeah. Yep. And you're gonna continue straight out to the side. So Sammy's knees are directly under her hips, a little bit easier. Ava has brought her knees further behind, making it a little harder. It's like a one-handed push-up. So this is very aggressive, so be careful here. You can also do circles with that towel. It'll be Cinderella's, you know. And one more. Good. Okay, take a little break, and then we're gonna go to the opposite side. So 30 seconds each side, which is fine. All right. So reset. Left hand's gonna go on the towel. You're gonna go straight out to the side. Here we go. 30 seconds. You can do the circles if the straight out to the side is too hard, and then Ava showed you in the very beginning, you can go straight forward too. You're still using that one arm in like a single arm push-up. You got 10 more seconds. And last one. Good. All right, so I think this is one of the hardest ones. You're gonna lay on your left side, and you're gonna wrap your left arm around your ribs, and the top arm is gonna go right by your shoulder. And this is gonna be actually a tricep workout. So Ava's gonna have straighter legs, you can have a slight bend. Sam's gonna have bent knees, all right? And all you're doing is pushing up to a full extension with that top arm. So we're gonna come on up. So we're working tricep here and then down. Yep. So if you get tired, just hang out down and then a push up when you get your breath. These are very difficult. We're doing a minute here. Good. You'll also feel it in your oblique. Good. So it was coming all the way up to the full extension. Sam doesn't have to come up as far. It's a regression. If it gets too tough, take a break and then go right back into it to finish your minute. As you do these videos, you can, in your head, count how many times you do it, and then the next time you do it, see if you can't get one more rep. We have 10 more seconds, and then we'll go to the other side. So head to the other side of the mat. Yep. Still facing me, and now your other arm, the bottom arm, always goes around your rib cage. It's the hardest one to set up. Top arm goes right by that bottom shoulder. So other hand standing. So this, I know it's so hard. Once you get, okay, ready? And then you're gonna push up. Yep. This is a tough one. This is just all tricep. Do shoulder taps from a plank position. So Sammy's going to be on her knees. Eva's going to try to stay on her toes. If that gets too hard, she's going to go down to her knees. All right, here we go. And then you're going to alternate touching your opposite shoulder. Here we go. And go. Good. So you're doing your best not to rock your hips. And the easiest way to do that is to open up your legs a little bit further. You get a greater base. Your knees could be a little bit further. This is perfect. You're working a little bit of your core, and it is a whole lot of shoulders. And then again, it can be long, so if it's too hard, you can come down to your knees. Good. And start off on your toes and go down to your knees. You can start on your knees and say, hey, I feel really good today. I'm going to pop up to my toes and see how that feels for a couple. And go back down to your knees. 20 more seconds. Bring that for some of us memories. Okay, 10 seconds. So they're doing a great job. Try not to rock their hips. We're going to keep their abs nice and braced. Shoulders down and away from your ears as they touch opposite shoulders. All right, come down to your knees. Do a little child's pose. Kind of sit back and just kind of stretch your lower back. And then we're going to stand up for old-fashioned arm circles. So when you don't have any weights, our props are just a mat and a towel for this. You can always hold cans of food, water bottles. This isn't enough. Okay, so come on up. I tried to make it pretty challenging. So our arms are going to be straight out to a T. We do 30 seconds of circling forward. So here we go. So the shoulders are down, and then you're just doing arm circles for 30 seconds forward. The challenge would be to do the entire 2 minutes without letting your arms fall to the ground, which would be very difficult. So I'm going to show you just a quick rest. But if you're up for it, I would say try to do all 4 exercises without bringing your hands down. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right. So now we're going to go back. Okay, they don't need it. So 30 seconds backwards. So you little small circles. Push forward so that they keep their arms up to take it. Take a break. Otherwise, we're going to push forward for 30 seconds and go. It's hard. It's hard. Again, if this isn't challenging enough, you can hold water bottles. Final 30 seconds, we'll look wiggle those shoulders around, you can go backwards, forwards. And then we're gonna repeat all 6 of those exercises again, so you get the full 20 minutes of a workout in, and your upper body should feel nice and strong.